Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we dig in deep to analyze the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. I'm Andy Nelson from thenextreel.com.
And I'm Pete Wright, also from The Next Reel.
We are in the credits of Jon Favreau's 2008 film Iron Man. Back with us, we have Nick Exposito from the Fantasy Flix League. Hey, Nick.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. You ready to talk credits with us?
It's my favorite thing to discuss.
Who wouldn't want to? By nature of picking that last moment of Tony to talk about, you ended up getting a couple minutes.
I didn't realize.
It's movies by minute karma right there.
That's what that is. On today's show, we're looking at Iron Man Minute 119. The minute starts with a continuation of the casting by credits, and it ends with a credit for the ILM animation supervisor, Hal Hickel, creeping onto the screen.
Good old Hal.
So we go from casting, we jump into our main actor pool that we're going to be looking at. And it's funny. I like to imagine that they planned this with the graphics somehow tying into each of their names as they come up. It never really seems to work, but I like to pretend it does. So we have Iron Man. It's almost like to get to him, we kind of go through the circles. It makes me feel like I'm going through the chest into the inner workings of Iron Man. And that gives us Robert Downey Jr.
Which, let's call back ourselves, that should be spinal column.
Right.
So we're clear we're missing a lot of organs and some structural anatomy.
I think Jensen did a lot more internal work than anybody ever really finds out.
Totally.
Do you think, because Robert Downey Jr. was very much down and out at this point, or in very little things, and this was definitely his coming out. And you know what it reminded me of, at least for the brief moment that he had, which was John Travolta during Pulp Fiction. How Tarantino kind of revitalized his career. Mm-hmm. And obviously Robert Downey Jr. had way more success and longevity than, maybe John Travolta did. But it's just kind of like is Favreau his Tarantino. So
it's a good thing that Robert Downey Jr. turned down Battlefield Earth 2, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God, I was waiting. Who's going to get the Battlefield Earth joke? Who's going to get it?
Oh, Travolta, what were you thinking?
Yeah. Listen, he had to do one for the, for the team, I guess.
Yeah, is that what that was?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Oh, boy, poor guy. Robert Downey Jr., he did get nominated for 9 awards with this film. He won for Best Actor at the Saturn Awards, the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. At the Central Ohio Film Critics Association, he won their Actor of the Year award. At the Empire Awards, he was nominated for Best Actor. At the Golden Schmo Awards, he was nominated for Best Actor. At the Irish Film and Television Awards, he won for Best International Actor. At the MTV Movie and TV Awards, he was nominated for Best Male Performance. And at the National Movie Awards at the UK, he was nominated for Best Performance by a Male. At the People's Choice Awards, he was nominated for everyone's favorite superhero. And last but not least, at the Teen Choice Awards, he was nominated for the Choice Movie Actor for an Action Adventure Movie. Despite the fact, we've talked about a lot about Robert Downey Jr. I'll just say, despite the fact that he didn't win many of those awards, I think it stands to reason that this movie, it really benefited by his casting, as did the MCU.
Yeah, agree.
Totally.
Next up, we have Terrence Howard. And on his screen, I don't know. I was looking. I'm like, is there any connection? It's like Iron Man's hand. It's like the repulsor, kind of that flight stabilizer, with Terrence Howard's name. I'm like, is that a nod to him flying and the jet fight? Again, I'm really reaching on some of these to try to connect it.
It's like his offensive weapon. So, and Terrence Howard's part of the military.
This is where I feel like if they were going to do a War Machine nod, they should have done the War Machine nod here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They should have. This should have been the Gatling gun.
Yeah. Terrence Howard was nominated at the Black Reel Awards for Best Supporting Actor, but did not win. Yeah, and we've talked about Terrence. We've talked about the reason he didn't end up kind of continuing with the MCU. I'm glad he's in this film. I like him here, but I'm also glad that we had Don Cheadle for the rest of them. Any last thoughts on Terrence Howard, you guys?
No. I feel somewhat sad. I feel bad for him somewhat whenever I watch this movie. It's like, man, like why? What are you thinking now? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, like what would Terrence Howard have been thinking at this moment in the credits as he's watching this finished film for the first time? What is Terrence Howard wondering?
He's like, I can't wait to put that War Machine suit on.
Yeah.
Do you think at that point you think he would?
I don't think the negotiations for Iron Man 2 started coming around. It was largely when they started doing that and how much less he was going to be earning from that.
Yeah.
That kind of pushed his decision.
So maybe he's thinking, I'm going to make so much more money in Iron Man 2.
Ka-ching.
Yep. We go from his credit to Jeff Bridges. It's kind of a shot of the schematics of Iron Man's head, and it's like his eye is analyzing something. I don't know. Maybe he's looking at Ironmonger. Again, I'm really stretching with these things. Jeff Bridges was nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Saturn Awards, and also he was nominated for the Teen Choice Awards for the Choice Movie Villain. I just love the Teen Choice Awards. The things that they pick, I think, are always fun. Actually, Johnny Depp won that for the Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. So I guess that works.
That checks out.
Although he's kind of the protagonist, so I don't know if I call him the villain too. I guess he is, but still, it's the story. He's our hero.
Yeah.
Has Jeff Bridges been a villain in many films? I can only think of Tron Legacy or whatever that was. Other than that, I can't really think of any where he has been a bad guy.
Fabulous Baker Boys, he was, the nemesis.
Was he the bad brother?
No, he was the bad brother, right?
Jeff Bridges, I don't know. I don't feel like he does villains too often. I'm struggling thinking of any others. But I love him when he's a villain.
Yeah, no, he plays him pretty well. And it's just interesting to, because everyone thinks of him as this one type of guy, kind of, at least nowadays. And so it's just interesting to see him play those roles.
And he's another person that I would have been okay if his character lived and if we saw more of him, because I really like him.
Yeah.
And, he's okay in everything. So we go from his screen to Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts. Good old Gwyneth. She was nominated at the Saturn Awards for a Best Actress. And let's see, she was nominated at the Scream Awards for Best Science Fiction Actress. And last but not least, at the Teen Choice Awards for the Choice Movie Actress in an Action Adventure. I like Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts. I think she's great.
Yeah, same.
I do too. She lands really well for me. I get that there are some things that are controversial about her personal life, but my goodness, I love seeing her on screen here. I love their relationship so much. She deserves any of those accolades.
And she fits the character very, very well. She plays her how she needs to be played, the way she interacts with Tony is like a check to him almost. And, also she's not afraid. She kind of is on her own, able to hold her own. She's great.
Now, the one thing about Gwyneth that I question is her animation on screen. It's the back of Iron Man's head. I have a hard time figuring out if there's a connection here other than
when the suit comes on her in a later movie. It's
other
protecting
than that.
her.
Other than
that's
that.
all I got. That's it. That's the only thing.
That's it. Next up, we have Leslie Bibb. She did not get any award nominations, and it's a small part. I'm not surprised, as great as she was. I don't think I ever noticed that the animation here, it starts off and we're basically on the floor looking at his crotch. We're under his feet. And I'm like, maybe that is weirdly appropriate animation to pair with Leslie Bibb, considering the relationships that she had with Tony.
That's true.
Made me laugh. And then we go to Sean Taube, who is fittingly paired with Mark I animation. Actually, I like that we get a switch in the animation here, and I liked him in the movie quite a bit as Yinsen.
Oh, he was great. And I love that it goes back to the Mark I.
Yeah, it ties that in nicely.
And then the Mark I animation kind of turns and blows apart, revealing kind of the Iron Man underneath it, the Mark II/3. And it's paired with the names Ferran Tahir and Clark Gregg. I think that watching the Mark I outfit blow into pieces pairs nicely with Ferran Tahir, who's out digging in the desert trying to find all those pieces.
Well, I love Clark Gregg, and I'm glad he really kind of came into his own in this universe after this movie, got his own TV show. It's kind of funny how that Agent Coulson character became very beloved in the universe and in the fandom of Marvel.
That's the thing that it really is cool how Clark Gregg's story kind of grew out of this film, because they just liked him so much as this character that they gave him more and more because he was interesting. People really connecting with him. And I think it speaks volumes about him as kind of a performer and what he did here with this character to, turn it into, a recurring character with a really interesting character arc, to turn it into a character that's helming a TV series, and to turn it into an actual comic book character that's based on him.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's funny because, at least for this first phase in these first films, he is the one real big, connective character that starts to pop up, at least in the Iron Man franchise and then subsequently Thor. So, yeah, his character is very essential to this universe. It's great. And I love how he plays him as this very stoic FBI agenty guy.
And how fun was it to see him pop up in Captain Marvel?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was great.
So cool.
That was his first rodeo, lest we forget.
Right.
It was his first rodeo.
I know, you can look at that line now when he, right before we started our discussion, and now look at Captain Marvel. It's like, there it is.
That was it.
Exactly.
Hole filled. Yeah.
We go from that screen to kind of an exploded view of the Iron Man chest, I guess is what it is. And we see Bill Smitrovich and Syed Bedreya. Bill Smitrovich, you may remember, he plays the general who is out in Afghanistan at the Bagram Air Base, General Gabriel, who meets up with Tony before their big presentation. A small scene, but I guess a big enough name to warrant a credit. Now, we never did the IMDb game for him. Can you guys think of what might pop up for his 4 on IMDb?
Oh God.
Okay. So I
only know of him in one other place, so that's the only thing I can pick.
Well, it was the only thing I've got is a TV show, and I know that it wasn't The Wonder Years, but it sounds like The Wonder Years.
Life Goes On.
Life Goes On
with Corky.
Yes, that's right. He was Corky's dad.
Yes,
and that is the only thing, although he's one of those faces, I know he's in so much other stuff and I can't think of a single thing.
He is that guy.
He definitely is that guy in a lot of military movies, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I will just tell you guys, because it is hard. He was in The November Man, which is with Pierce Brosnan. I never saw it, from 2014. Life Goes On. So we got that one as the dad. The show ran for 4 years. And then I didn't even realize he was in this. Ted and Ted 2.
Really?
Yeah. He plays Frank in both of those films.
I like those movies way more than I should.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's Bill Smitrovich, and then Syed Bedreya as Abu, our favorite grandpa, who ends up taking a dark turn and coming to a bad end at the hands of the villagers.
Yeah.
And then we go from those guys to we get the final little bit of animation that leads us to the circle image of it kind of coming out of Tony's chest that turns into the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo, and it says a Jon Favreau film. I love this little S.H.I.E.L.D. logo that we have here, though.
Yeah.
Okay, I got something for you guys because of nerds. Now it says here that the S.H.I.E.L.D. acronym on this thing is Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement Logistics Division. As readers of the comics, can you name at least one other acronym that S.H.I.E.L.D. has stood for over the years? And there are many.
Ooh, you have got me there, sir.
I know I read them off back in some of those earlier episodes when I was talking about it, but for the life of me, I can't think of any of them right now. But I know they were vastly different. Yeah.
They're vastly different. Yeah. And I couldn't play. I was talking to my wife about this, and I was talking about an interview with Sam Jackson, and what the interviewer asked Sam, "Can you name what SHIELD stands for?" And he said, "Oh, Strategic Homeland. Oh, no, Nerdspeak." Right? Like he can't do it. And I thought that was so funny. So I looked it up, and it turns up there are so many of these. Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division, obviously, one of them. How about Supreme Headquarters International Espionage Law Enforcement Division?
I feel like that was the first one.
Yes, that was the original Marvel Comics one.
Yes, right.
Strategic Hazard Intervention Espionage Logistics Directorate, which actually sounds too evil. Yes, why would they put directorate in there?
That sounds like the evil. That is when Hydra started infiltrating.
That's the only that should have been telegraphed the moment they changed the branding. Bad people are in charge. And then Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement. That was Iron Man's one we're talking about. And then how about this one? Secret Headquarters of Intelligence, Espionage, and Law Division.
Wow.
What?
Let's put the name Secret Headquarters in the name of our organization.
There were that's right. Another one, telegraphing their intentions a little too broadly. Yeah. There were two that came up as real. One of them is, and this is way out of my wheelhouse, this is wrestling, apparently. Sierra Hotel India Echo Lima Delta, which doesn't sound like wrestling to me. I don't know what the connection is. It sounds like just using military abbreviation, like the military thing. And the other one is silicon hybrids with infrared extrinsic long wavelength detectors. So in case you're looking for the sciencey one, that's it.
There's the sciencey one.
Yes, that was the sciencey one.
That sounds like something that Tony would have used.
What's so funny is they really have to jump through some hoops to make SHIELD not sound like the evil organization.
Yeah, they really do. Or make it fit somehow in the FBI, CIA.
In the world of governmental acronyms, it's
exactly.
Yeah, I think throwing the word "supreme" in there for a while also didn't help things.
Supreme,
totally didn't. Oh. Supreme Secret Headquarters Directorate is not good.
Oh boy. Well, they were writing for 12-year-olds, I guess, when these started out. So makes sense.
Exactly. And for 12-year-olds, Supreme Headquarters Directorate nails it.
Yeah, it's real cool.
So we go from this, we end our animated credits, which were so fun to watch, and now we just end up with just the regular scroll, starting with the UPM Sarah E. White and UPM second role for Louis D'Esposito, and scroll through the first few credits. I figured right now, unless you guys had anything specific about any of these particular people, I figured I'd look at the box office for Iron Man to see how it did at the box office.
Yeah, remind us.
It was made, again, this was a 2008 film. It was made for about $140 million. Nice chunk of change. I did find elsewhere that it was listed with a budget of $186 million. So I'm guessing that's some of the prints and advertising costs. In today's dollars, that's about $208 million that it ended up costing in 2018 dollars or $19. It ended up grossing domestically $318.6 million. And internationally, $266.7 million for a grand total of almost $4 million, and adjusted, that's about $655.6 million. It's not in the $1 billion club, but it still did a great job setting the Marvel Cinematic Universe up. And in the next reel speak, Pete, I know it wouldn't be the same if I didn't do this. The adjusted profit per finished minute of this film is $3.5 million that they made.
Wow.
In today's dollars per minute on that movie. So
now, where have you started a new spreadsheet?
I didn't, but I'm going to have to, aren't I?
Yeah, we're going to need a Marvel Cinematic. We need a Marvel tab. So just a new tab.
What was the total domestic?
The total domestic was, what did I say? In 2008 dollars, it was $318.6 million.
So if this was played in Fantasy Flix League today, that would be 318 points.
Oh.
Ah.
So that's how that works. Just FYI.
Oh, okay.
So you don't look at the international gross.
No, don't work in international, strictly domestic. It gets a little hairy.
Good to know.
That way.
I did want to throw the finances in there, but Nick, I figure this is also a good time to chat a little bit about your history with comics and Marvel and Iron Man. How did Iron Man enter your life?
It started for me with a game I played in grade school. Well, I've always been into comic books, video games, and my favorites have been, Batman, Spider-Man, and Captain America, oddly enough, was one of my favorites. But I knew of Iron Man and Thor and all these other guys on the side, but I really kind of got into them freshman year at high school. Some friends of mine played a game called HeroClix, which was a game where you played superheroes, and they had Marvel first, where it was almost like it's a tabletop strategic game where you battle each other with superheroes. And I had Iron Man as one of my characters, and he was very overpowered in this game. And so that just kind of led me to be more interested in Iron Man as a character and read his stories and how he came about. And I was also very fond of, back in the day, they had an animated block of Marvel shows, which was like Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Hulk. And so, yeah, they've just kind of always been around. And I've always just loved the types of characters, that they are, and their humanity, and just I've always been wrapped up in it.
Did you, when the film started coming out, were you on board right out of the gate with all the movies?
Oh yeah, I would love. I was, because I've always wanted, you had your Batman movie, you had your Iron Man, you had Superman films, and those were great. But I've always wanted them to explore what people, I guess, at the time would describe as the B-level characters. So like your Iron Mans, your Captain Americas. And because I knew what interesting stories they had to tell. So my thought was, again, Captain America being one of my favorite superheroes, that since they were doing an Iron Man movie and the fact that it did well, I'm like, they're actually going to do a Captain America movie. I might actually see that happen. And, and now several movies later, it's more than a reality. So yeah, I was very much on board. I was excited about this, and excited about the casting, about who they chose, because of, in a previous episode, I mentioned the Ultimates in a panel in which they're discussing who would play their film alter egos. And when they announced Robert Downey Jr., I was like, that's from that comic. So yeah, it was exciting.
That's now, were you watching all the movies all the way back to the lower grade Marvel films like Howard the Duck and the early Punisher with Dolph Lundgren, or was it really when they started kicking in really kind of with X-Men back in 2000?
I did watch The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren, and I saw that awful Captain America movie with him in a rubber suit because, again, my favorite superhero. So I would watch that. So I've never seen Howard the Duck. I've heard I've heard stories. So I've never. Yeah, I kind of want to watch out of curiosity, but I never went that way. But I did see the direct to video Marvel films, even the Roger Corman Fantastic Four.
You found that?
I found that at a comic book convention. Someone had it on VHS. Wow. It was, a bootleg copy. So I've seen those movies, and, it was exciting to have someone besides Spider-Man from that Marvel universe get a serious treatment. And so, yeah, again, having Iron Man be the first, while I would rather it have been other characters, I was glad that it was happening.
Definitely. Well, I don't. Did you guys have anything about the last few credits that we have here? The only ones that really stood out for me were co-producer Victoria Alonso, ILM visual effects supervisor Ben Snow, and ILM animation supervisor Hal Hickel, mostly because those were three people who were very much recognized in the award circuits because of their involvement in the visual effects with the film. But otherwise, I don't really have much else for this minute, unless you guys do.
I got nothing.
And Nick, I figure we'll save your rankings for tomorrow's show.
Oh, there you go.
Got to build everybody up. Awesome. Well, Nick, would you like to remind everybody where they can find you out there online?
Yes, you can go to www.fantasyflixleague.com. That's FLIX. And so it's like fantasy football, but played with movies. There's a tutorial on the site that can explain how the game plays much better than I can. I've attempted it in the past few episodes, and I feel like I haven't done a great job. But essentially, you go and you create, you can get a group of friends together and you draft movies, and you compete based on those movies' performance on your roster. And it's a lot of fun. It's completely free. So yeah, go on to the website, check it out, sign up, start a league, and get involved. Be your own Hollywood movie mogul, as we like to say.
And if you do, let us know, because we're setting our own up, and we'll be playing, and we can all see how everybody's doing with their games. Should be fun. Well, everybody, that is it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the show for free at marvelmovieminute.com. Join us over in our Discord chat room, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Next Reel. And if you like what we do and you want to support us and get some cool stuff, become a patron over at thenextreel.com/Patreon. Until next time, true believers.